I love it when people give reviews on things. That is what I do, and that is the whole reason I have a whole cool little series I call a Straw Hat Verdict to review things that I like because I think everybody should have the right to review things. But imagine taking reviews, right, and you just make it the worst thing possible. So when you think of like the worst reviewers of all time, I'm pretty sure you don't think of anybody like Moist Meter because he's objectively amazing, or you know like my reviews. I just give like my own opinions about things. But when you think of worst reviews, you think of someone like Polygon or GameSpot or the premise of this video, IGN. So IGN has probably one of the worst reviews ever. It has so much hate towards it, and I completely understand it. Recently, IGN, and IGN is a very big company, and they just don't care about anything. But IGN's reviews on games is just like the complete opposite of what people think. So if someone thinks that this game is bad, IGN will think it's pretty good or give it a 7. Or if people think that the game, like majority of people think that the game is good, IGN will give it a bad score or 7. So they're always the complete opposite. I don't know why they do that. That's what like the worst thing you can do. But IGN's reviews are always crazy. For example, IGN has given a trashy game called Concord a good old 7 because, I don't know why they give things 7. Maybe it's a way to keep their reputation up. But actually, there is a theory that IGN gives everything a 7 to keep their, reputation up from companies so they don't lose any sponsors and they have early access to games because if they give a game a dog crap score, they ain't gonna get anything else from the company because they called the game dog crap. So, it makes sense. So you can already tell that IGN is already greedy for money and greedy for everything, so you can't trust them anymore. So I never ever watch IGN reviews because it is not true. I watch things like Moist Meter or a big medium company called GamerRanks to see views. There was a cool thing on GamerRanks that's called Before You Buy, where they give you a game and they tell you, all about it without any spoilers. And I watch that. Or if I completed the game or I want to see like how the game is doing, I go on Moist Meter to see how Charlie Moist Critical ranks the game because I feel like I kind of trust him a little bit more than these scam artist IGN people. So, for example, IGN gave Concord a good old 7, even though that game was dead as a fly. There was literally nobody playing the game anymore. It was a dead on launch game. This thing was basically like the calling, but a little bit better, but a little bit worse. So it was a failed game. I'm pretty sure the only people who were playing it was reviewers, probably developers, and probably YouTubers who were just dunking on that game. So Conquer was a big flop, and everything about that game was okay. Not as good as like other good, hero shooters, but it was a thing that was not supposed to be worth $40, and the fact that it's like 150 million in 8 years of development was kind of weird. It's kind of stupid. It sucks, and it's mind-boggling to me. And how IGN gave that game a 7, even though that the player base doesn't look like it's a good old 7, because I'm pretty sure you gotta wait a long time to get into a match because of there's only like 75 people playing the entire game at one time, and it sucks. I don't know why IGN gives things a 7. It's crazy. Or for example, they gave Star Wars Outlaws a 7. That game, crazy. It was an actual crazy game. I was really excited for that game, but the way it turned out was honestly like it was just kind of heartbreaking because the world of that game looks amazing. I think the Star Wars environment and all that is amazing, but the gameplay itself is just horribly trash. The stealth is basic and boring, and the game looks unfinished, and it's just it wasn't a 7 game. It looks like a 5 game, but IGN wanted to give it a 7 just to keep the reputation up because if they give it anything lower than that, they will lose like a deal contract with Ubisoft or something like that. So it's sad. Oh, recently they gave Black Myth Wukong, the new like God of War Souls-like game, a good 8 out of 10. A little bit better than Concord or Outlaws, even though that game is literally almost a complete masterpiece due to public. I never played Black Myth Wukong, and I feel like I don't want to invest into playing Black Myth Wukong because I don't have time for that. But by what I see from the gameplay, other people playing it, I think it looks like a good game. Obviously, there are flaws to the game, because that's what all games are. There is no such thing as a perfect game. There will always be some sort of flaws in the game. But Black Myth Wukong is almost a masterpiece, and IGN gave it a good old 8. So, and 8 out of 10 is good. It's good, like it's good. But comparing 8 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10, trash game, it just doesn't add up. People just get mad at that. So there were also other things that people got mad at. I have a list right here that shows like IGN scores, and for example, they gave shoot. What was it? It was Last of Us 2. They gave Last of Us 2 a solid 10 out of 10. They gave Last of Us 2 a solid 10 out of 10. So, I'll quickly do this. I think Last of Us 2 was a pretty good story. I think Last of Us 2 had good gameplay. I think everything about the Last of Us 2 was amazing. The gameplay, the characters, and all that. I think the thing that just brings that score down to like a 10 out of 10 to like a good maybe 7 out of 10 is how the story was just so unorganized. Spoilers, I hate how it went from like, you play as Ellie or you play as Joel and then Joel dies and then you play as Abby and you go back to Abby and you go back to Ellie back to Abby and then you go here, you go flashback, then back to Ellie, then back to a flashback of Abby, then you go back to Ellie and then it's just so like unorganized and how you just can't keep up with it, and that's just like one of the big flaws about that game, how like unorganized it was. And I see a lot of people who play the game or streamers say like how it was kind of unorganized. There's this one YouTuber who I watch. His name is Jetro. He was a pretty good YouTuber, and it shows how like at the end when he finished the game, he had like a not compliment, more like a thing about like how like unorganized it felt, or like there was so many things happening all at once. It was moving here, then here, then here. So the pacing was bad, and I don't think I ever saw IGN, saying something about that. But that does bring the 10 out of 10 down to a 7 out of 10 because of how the pacing was. I think the pacing was horrible, but everything about it as a game is good. But IGN giving that crap a good old 10 out of 10, it's honestly, there's no such thing as a 10 out of 10 game unless, you create actual magnum opus that runs tears down your eyes whenever you play that good, amazing, godly game. So, there are so many things that IGN does, and it's honestly sad. Everybody hates it. It's literally all it is just so they can keep, cool thing. They can keep, they can keep their reputation. They can keep, their sponsors, and they know how to make the people mad, even though they're already making basically every single person who has played a single game in their entire life pissed. And they're doing the complete opposite of doing that. So instead of like actually delving deep into the game, actually taking aside the fact that okay, I might lose sponsors from this, but at least I will help the players know if this is a bad game. And if I tell the players that this is a bad game, maybe they don't have to play it, and maybe the developers can learn from the bad game in order to make a better game and learn from like the people who say that's a bad game. And if IGN actually just completely forfeits the money and actually focuses on okay, I'm gonna help the players instead of I want to get sponsors, I want to get keep early access things so I can get early access with, because that's what they care about. That's what they care about. The more they make, the more vomit they spill, the more money they make. So if they actually like focus on money side, okay, if this game is bad, I'm gonna say that this game is trash. Don't give Golem like a good old 7 out of 10 and saying how much is good, even though that you're saying that okay, it's trash. So instead of saying Golem is such a good, no, like actually go into it and say okay, Golem is actually a trash can. I'm gonna tell you why it's trash. I'm gonna tell you, what makes it bad, and maybe I can tell you, how to improve it. instead of just saying, "Oh, this game's good," you know. I know everybody hates this game, you know, but it's good. Here's some things that are good, and keep doing that. So IGN is honestly a crazy company. Not everything about IGN is bad. You know, they're not only a review guy thing, but as like the review series of whatever they do review thing is honestly just bad. It sucks, and it's crazy. You can't trust the IGN. You can only trust like actual people who don't get sponsored by Ubisoft or who don't get sponsored by these companies like me, because if the game is trash, oh, I'm gonna roast that game like a freaking uh, roast beef. I'm roasting you. And if the game is good, I'm gonna tell you how amazing that game is. I'm not gonna give everything a good old 7 out of 10 because I don't want to make the public mad. Even though that giving everything a 7 out of 10 will enlighteningly give the public mad. So I would rather, IGN, I don't know, you take notes from me, but I feel like you'll make people less mad if you give a game a bad score if it does deserve it, rather than giving a bad game a good old 10 out of 10 and everybody hates you. I'm just saying. Or if you give a good game a bad score, well, and if it's like a game that's like, okay, this game's bad or this game's good, and if you sit on a topic and you review why, you probably won't get much hate, and it's crazy. So IGN is a funny thing. You can watch the reviews or watch like other people like review bombing how bad IGN is. It is crazy. This is what happens when you take things and when someone gets paid so much money in order to make your game look good. Nobody can trust you. Like nobody can. If the game sucks like Concord or Outlaws, and you give it a good score, and you basically saying in your review that there were so many flaws with this game, and you give it a good 7 out of 10, there was something wrong with you, and it just shows to you like how like money can basically overtakes people's opinions. I don't know, but it's crazy. IGN just do better, and maybe if you're more truthful, and if you don't care about losing sponsorships, like oh good golly, I just lost sponsorship with this tiny company. What else am I gonna do? It doesn't matter. You still make money from YouTube and other things. So if you're more truthful, maybe people will love you more, and maybe games will probably get a little bit better. That's it. Thanks for watching.